Hey everybody. A little bit of a different one for you today. To get some cardio done, and I thought to myself, let's record it. So I'm down here in my gaming space, office space, cardio space. Got my spinning bike set up, heart rate monitor on, and we're going to play some games once it finally loads. I got Halo Infinite loading up. I hear there was a new update yesterday, so I'm curious about that one. And we haven't played it in a bit, so it's going through this long, arduous process of actually loading the game in for the first time. It's been a little bit of a busy day on my end. I got a busy night ahead of me as well. And I wanted to talk about handling expectations. So often I've seen people who don't really know what to do about achieving this mountain that's been put in front of them, getting the work done, figuring out even how to navigate the labyrinth that's in front of them to get the work done. And oftentimes people seem to just get stuck trying to find an answer, stuck trying to develop a solution. In one place they don't look, one box they don't look under, is the box of there isn't one. And oftentimes there isn't going to be one. There isn't going to be this mysterious solution that you and all your searching or the people before you didn't find. There's just going to be a moment, a discovery, so to speak, that is completely influenced by what you're able to do to get this task done. Of course, the game made me log in there. Like I hadn't literally ever played this game. Certainly have. I think many times, though, people sit around struggling to even get some direction of where they need to go. And it just stalls us out. It makes it so that we literally have no idea how to go about our day to day, our week, what we should be working on, what we should be focused on. And this happens in and out of the gym. This isn't just a gym rant. This isn't just a fitness rant, work specific, anything like that. This applies to just life in general. I've said this before, and sometimes people just get that choice paralysis where they're like, there's too many things in front of me. And on the other side of that coin, there's also people who freeze when the choice isn't immediately apparent to them. But again, I would encourage you to ask yourself, is there something you can actually do to impact this? Is there something that you actually could do that's going to move the needle forward? Now, I think in most things in life, there is something you can do. But you've got to control what you can control. You can't be caught up in this trying to control things that are well outside of the boundaries of what you can influence. You can't change or do for someone else what they have to do. You can't say it for them. You can't deliver it for them. You can't finish something for them. There are times when you can help, and there may actually be times when you can do something to move that forward for them. But the way people talk to you, the way people talk to each other, it gets in the way sometimes of us realizing, me, the individual, I'm doing everything I can right now, and that's as good as it's going to get. There's just not a lot more to it sometimes. We get stuck trying to, understand why somebody might have done something or change the way someone did something. It's not, you're not going to be able to change that. We get stuck in this loop too of, next time. Next time they'll be different. I've communicated this to them. They understand how much this affects me, but they don't. They don't, and even if they do, they're not going to change. They're not going to. They've proven what they're capable of doing, what they're actually going to get done for you, all that stuff. They're not actually going to all of a sudden do something different when they've done one thing for months, years, probably is more likely what it is. It takes a lot of conscious self-reflection for somebody to be so self-aware that they understand, look, I actually do need to change this about me. This is negatively affecting everybody around me, and ultimately that's going to hurt me too. But most people aren't, that's the first step, that self-reflection. Most people aren't even capable of doing that. Then they've actually got to make the change, and that's uncomfortable. They don't want to have to do that. It's a lot easier to just sit around and be comfortable doing what you are used to doing what you know, doing what feels safe, even if it's going to be better for you in the long run to make that change. Now, with that said, there are plenty of people who are never going to make this change. And you just got to accept that and ask yourself if you're willing to maybe even continue to engage with that person. Maybe it just means not doing that activity that you're thinking about that ends up with you being disappointed every time. Now, when it comes back to expectations, getting things done, managing what's realistic for you, to a degree, man, that's all on you to do. It's in your power to say no. It's not necessarily always in your power to change the course of action that something actually needs to take for it to get done. But you can still inform the people around you of what's going to be realistic. Let's talk about it in the vein of work for a second, and then we'll talk about it in the gym or life. At work and in life, people are going to be asking you to do things that might not actually be possible for you to do as an individual. And there could be a number of reasons for that. Maybe you literally don't have the skills to do it. Maybe you don't have the strength to do it. Maybe you just don't have the knowledge to do it. Now, if you're going out, you're doing everything you can to actually impact those things, change those things. There's only so much you can do quickly to get that thing done. But that doesn't mean that you just throw in the towel. I want to reiterate, that means that you've done the things that you can do, learn, research, Google, whatever it is, to try to get that thing done. But that doesn't always mean you're going to be able to do it. It doesn't mean that what you learn is suddenly going to give you the ability to accomplish that task. Maybe that means you're able to get done a portion of that task. Maybe it means you're able to do your part of that task, which may be redefined after what you learn. But it doesn't ultimately mean that it's going to get done. Now at work, again, there's not always going to be a lot that you can do. But if you're doing everything you can, well, that's all that can be asked of you. Now, if you're slacking around, if you're not doing your part, if you're not helping carry the weight that you're supposed to be able to carry and shoulder, yeah, that's a problem. But you've got to just control what you can control. You can go out and learn, Google, YouTube, wherever, other mentors, exactly what's possible, what's feasible. You can go out and ask the individuals around you for the help that you need if you're not getting the help you need in the first place. But they might not be possible, but it might not be possible for them to do it either. That's a very realistic thing too. Now let's talk about life. I guess. Now let's talk about the gym. Often those expectations aren't coming from anybody but ourselves. That's the problem right there. We put unrealistic expectations on ourselves to get something done that just we're not going to be capable of doing. Ooh, I got him. So we've got to have realistic expectations of what we're capable of before we just charge down this path of, I'm going to do this. I'm going to accomplish this. We may be setting ourselves up from failure from the onset. And controlling what we can control in that moment would be controlling what the goal actually is. What is realistic? Sometimes being realistic means just being malleable, being flexible, and not being so rigid. I know I struggled with that for a long time. I still do from time to time. But if we're cognizant of it, we can be very, very, very aware of the fact that we do those things. So when that internal monologue is going on, when we're talking to ourselves, working on what's actually possible to do. So when we're talking to ourselves, setting goals, working out in our little noodle, what we can actually commit to and telling ourselves we're going to do it, we have to be cognizant of the fact of whether or not we're actually doing something that we, the individual, are going to be able to achieve. Because if not, again, we're going to set ourselves up for failure. We're going to be disappointed. That's going to be so demotivating. I don't want to live like that. I would rather have much more realistic goals and expectations for myself and everybody around me. Versus walking around constantly feeling like you're not achieving something. So set a realistic goal. Baby steps. Once you get into this fitness journey, wherever you're at with it, you'll learn that with time, more can actually be accomplished. Man, we got creamed in that team deathmatch. Sorry, team. I was a little more focused on talking to the camera here. You'll learn over time, though, that what is realistic and possible for you can be pushed and where you can push it. You'll learn what you can move the needle on, first and foremost. And by doing that, you're going to slowly learn where you can continuously improve. You're going to slowly learn over time what your goal can be to overall improve yourself. But when you're starting out, you probably don't know. You're like, I just want to go to the gym. I just want to lift more. Well, how? Do you want to be a bodybuilder? Do you want to be a power lifter, a strongman, CrossFitter, general fitness? What's the goal, you know? And you might not know that. That's totally fine, by the way. Totally fine. I think if you just approach it, though, with the idea of, I'm going to start with something simple and small and figure out what I love, you're going to be so much more successful. I didn't know I was going to love bodybuilding when I first started this. In fact, I would say that at first, all I really knew is that I wanted to start working out. I didn't really know what that meant. Looking back on it at the time, there was definitely this vanity component to me where I was like, I want to get bigger and stronger, right? But I didn't know at the time if that meant I was going to get into strength training, powerlifting, bodybuilding. I had no idea, but I just started. And through it, what I discovered over time, pretty quickly I would say, is that my path, my interests, were on bodybuilding. But if I had never started down that path, I wouldn't have figured that out. And by figuring that out, I furthered my ability to figure out what goals are going to be realistic, what I want to commit to, what kind of workouts I want to do, all of those things. It all happened over time. And doing those workouts, I was able to figure out exercises I liked, exercises I didn't like, exercises I preferred over others but will still do when somebody asks me to do it. And I learned what I'm good at. I learned where I'm strong, where I'm weak, what muscles are stronger than others versus weaker than others. I learned a lot of things just by starting, man. Just by going and doing. So don't set yourself up with things that are just going to lead to disappointment and failure. Don't overcommit yourself. Know your boundaries, know your limits, and know that sometimes you're going to just have to take that risk to figure out if you're even in the right area of focus. Might not be. You really might not. And if you're not, reassess later. But don't get hung up on it. Our tendency to just sit around, that's what's going to lead to us not getting something done. Being afraid to fail. Fail, man, and fail fast. Don't just sit there wondering like what could be, what might happen. You'll surprise yourself, I think, more often than not. I've been pretty overloaded at work lately. Most of my team is. And there have been some things that have happened happened. Makes it sound like it was recent. It's been happening for a long time. They've been trying to get a lot done with very little, I guess is the right way to put it. And my job is literally managing the expectations of the people around me to make sure that they don't get false impressions about what our team is going to be capable of. We're not going to be capable of a lot when we're very, very, very understaffed. But we can be capable of some things. Now, what those are, we have to define. We have to figure that out. But that's okay. We can figure that stuff out. We can influence people and tell them, hey, look, here's what's realistic. Here's what's possible even with the resources we have. And they might not like that answer. In fact, I would say, more often than not in my experience, they haven't liked that answer. That's okay though. I don't like that answer. And they know that. And that's important. We've communicated that. So they know. They're in the know. Their team, their bosses, their leadership are in the know. All of that stuff can make for a cohesive environment. But when you're afraid to communicate that stuff, that's when things can get a little spicy. That's when things can get a little hairy. And when people can really start getting pissy because you're not communicating appropriately. If you don't tell somebody, how could they know? In any aspect of life. So don't be mad when they have the wrong impression, the wrong idea, anything like that. It's on you to establish the right idea. Now, if you've gone out and controlled what you can control and done what you can do to inform them and let them know and manage their expectations, then yeah, you've done everything you can do. Don't worry about it. Don't let it bog down on you. If you're doing what you can do to control that cadence, that mindset, the right people are going to know. They're going to know that things are getting done as best they can. They're going to know that the team you're on is doing everything they can to actually make meaningful impacts on the work at hand. But if not, then you're at least part of the blame in getting that done, right? All right, everybody. That's about all we got time for today. I'm going to wrap up these last 2 minutes here. Cool down a little bit. Go eat some lunch after this. And get on with the rest of my day. I hope the week treats you well. Hope you're able to get what you need to done and enjoy it at the same time. And I hope it brings you some kind of joy to do what you're doing. Get out there. Go crush it. I'll see you next time.